Breaking news! The Denver Broncos may be about to close the biggest deal in the NFL this season, and nobody's talking about it as much as they should. 2 players, 2 contracts, and a level of performance that's leaving league executives baffled, wondering, how is this possible? I've investigated this thoroughly, Broncos fans, and what I've discovered will surprise you. We're talking elite stats, game-changing performances, and contract values so low they're almost criminal in the best possible way for Denver. Before revealing exactly who these 2 players are and why the Broncos are stealing the NFL right now, hit the like button if you believe this team is finally returning to greatness. And if you've been a Broncos fan through thick and thin, from the Elway era to now, show your loyalty and leave a comment saying, "Go Broncos!" My heart bleeds orange and blue. Now let's talk about why the Denver Broncos are shamelessly stealing the show in the NFL, and I mean that on a ski mask and getaway car level. There are 2 names you need to memorize, if you haven't already, Nick Bonitto and J.K. Dobbins. 2 contracts, 2 players, and a true masterclass in team building from George Payton. If the road to the Super Bowl is about value, production, and sheer willpower, then get ready, Broncos fans, because we're on the right track. First up, Nick Bonitto. He's not just a rising star anymore, he's crashing into elite territory. In a year where names like Micah Parsons, Aiden Hutchinson, and Myles Garrett are soaking up the headlines and cashing in with $45 million per year deals, Bonitto is quietly, efficiently, and devastatingly productive. He's racked up 8 sacks so far, putting him 4th in the NFL. But sacks are only one part of the story. His pressure rate? 2nd in the entire league at 20.2%. Total pressures? Again, 2nd only to Micah Parsons. And all of this while being paid like a middle-of-the-pack rotational edge rusher. Let that sink in. Nick Bonitto is currently the 11th highest paid edge rusher in the league, but he's producing at a top 3 level. That's not just smart business, that's daylight robbery. It speaks volumes about the kind of player Bonitto is, both on and off the field. He had every opportunity to chase the biggest payday, to command upwards of $30 million per year, and no one would have blamed him. But he chose Denver. He chose the team. He chose legacy. He wants that ring. He wants the Super Bowl. And this isn't just hype or homer talk. When you line up his production next to the league's highest earners, it's clear Bonitto belongs in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation. He's already sitting at 15% in current DPOY projections, right there with the elite names. With a couple more monster games, like say, a 2 or 3 sack performance against the Texans, he could catapult himself even higher. The question now isn't if Nick Bonitto is elite. It's how high his ceiling goes. Is he the future face of this Denver defense alongside Pat Surtain? Is he a foundational piece for the next championship run? But it's not just the defense that's quietly dominating under the radar. Let's flip to the other side of the ball and talk about the other half of this heist, J.K. Dobbins. When the Broncos signed Dobbins for $1.3 million, it was seen as a low-risk gamble on a player with elite talent but injury baggage. Fast forward to midseason, and it's one of the best contracts in the NFL. J.K. Dobbins is 3rd in the entire league in rushing yards, trailing only Jonathan Taylor and James Cook. Let me say that again, 3rd in the NFL. Ahead of backs making 4, 5, even 10 times as much. And he's doing it on just 15 carries a game, averaging 7.4 yards per carry in games like his performance against the Cowboys, where he shredded them for 111 yards. That's elite-level production for basement-level pay. To put it in perspective, Dobbins has more rushing yards through 8 weeks this season than Javonte Williams had all of last year. That's not a knock on Javonte, he's also balling, but it speaks to just how explosive and efficient Dobbins has been when healthy. And yes, health remains the big question mark, but the production is undeniable. He's on pace for 1,300 rushing yards, 9 touchdowns, over 1,400 yards from scrimmage, and all on a deal that wouldn't even get you a 3rd-string tight end in most NFL cities. His projections scream Pro Bowl. His performance screams franchise player. And here's where things start to get really interesting for the Denver Broncos front office. When we talk about locking up J.K. Dobbins, it's not just about rewarding production, it's about strategic positioning for what's coming next. The 2026 salary cap landscape is starting to clear up. With Russell Wilson's contract weight finally lifting off the books, George Payton and the Broncos have a golden opportunity to shape this roster for the next 3 to 5 years. This isn't just a cap-clearing moment. This is the launch pad for a Super Bowl window. And Dobbins could be a centerpiece. Extending Dobbins to a 2-year, $25 million deal, $12.5 million per year, isn't just fair, it's smart. It gives you an elite RB1 without entering the dangerous territory of 4- or 5-year extensions that have sunk other franchises. You keep flexibility. You keep upside. You keep your offense on schedule and your locker room unified around a guy who's proving, week in and week out, that he can carry the load. Not just statistically, but emotionally. This guy runs with purpose. Runs like he's got something to prove every down. And that fire is contagious. What makes it even more compelling is how seamlessly he's fit into Sean Payton's offense. This wasn't a plug-and-play situation. It took vision to see how Dobbins' skill set, his burst, his vision, his acceleration could thrive in this scheme. The stretch runs. The counters. The quick-hitting inside zone plays. All of it is designed to get Dobbins into the second level fast, where he can turn a 4-yard gain into 20 with a single cut. And he's doing that with consistency. Plus, let's not ignore the tandem dynamic with R.J. Harvey. That's a 1-2 punch with versatility, with complementary styles, and with fresh legs late in games. Dobbins hits you with the thunder, Harvey brings the lightning. Keeping both of them not only gives Denver one of the most dynamic backfields in the league, but it also gives Payton options. Depth. Insurance. And it gives Russell Wilson, or whoever is under center in 2026, a reliable ground game to lean on. Which brings us to the big picture question, what kind of team are the Broncos building here? Because these kinds of smart, value-driven moves point to something bigger than just winning games. They point to culture. To identity. To long-term strategy. George Payton isn't just handing out contracts. He's building a team that can win now and sustain success over time. Hitting on players like Benito and Dobbins, finding elite production without breaking the bank, is how you build championship cores. Just look at the domino effect. You've got Benito and Cooper anchoring the edge, freeing up cap to build depth at linebacker and safety. You've got Dobbins anchoring the run game at a fraction of the cost, allowing you to invest more in offensive line upgrades or retaining key playmakers like Jerry Jeudy or Marvin Mims Jr. Every dollar saved on Benito and Dobbins is a dollar you can put into reinforcing the trenches, extending Pat Certain, or drafting aggressively when you need to trade up. And don't underestimate the message it sends inside the locker room. When you reward performance, not hype, when you value character and commitment over flash, it builds trust. Benito could have chased the bag. Dobbins could have demanded more up front. But both guys bought into the vision. That's powerful. That's contagious. That's how championship locker rooms are built. Of course, there are still risks. Injuries are always a factor, especially with running backs. Dobbins has a history. So the front office has to strike a balance, reward the player, but protect the future. That's why a short-term extension with guarantees, but without long-term dead cap traps, makes perfect sense. You reward the grind without mortgaging the plan. So as we sit here today, Broncos country, it's hard not to be excited. These aren't just good stories, they're signs that this franchise is finally back on the right track. Smart management. Elite development. Cohesion between front office and coaching staff. And above all, a roster that's hungry, underdog-driven, and ready to fight for every yard, every win, every chance to hoist that Lombardi again. If you're not fired up about what this team is building, you're not paying attention. This isn't just a blip. It's a blueprint. Nick Benito and J.K. Dobbins are the symbols of this next phase of Broncos football, one built on toughness, value, and a relentless drive to win. So now the question goes to you. If you're George Payton, what would your next move be? Do you lock up Dobbins now? Do you ride the wave and risk his price climbing higher? Drop your take in the comments below and let's talk about it. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button if you haven't already, and check out the next video right here on the screen where we break down how the Broncos stack up in the AFC playoff race. Go Broncos!